Lately, I have been addressing how ready Hedera is to officially take over some of the key categories in this market, like, for an example, DeFi or tokenization or even stablecoin payments. And in this video, I really want to highlight some of the moves that might be just completely overlooked at this point that are highlighting just how big Hedera is becoming and why institutional players are about to tap in and adopt Hedera in a big way. So, with that in mind, let's take a step back. Let's go all the way back to August of 2024. Now, during that time, almost nobody really cared about crypto again because the market was selling off since going all the way back to like March of 2024. So everyone was kind of barely paying attention to anything that was happening, especially fundamentals. And this was one of those big fundamental moves that Hedera did make because we did get from Hedera that we are excited to announce that Hedera has officially joined the IIF, the Institute of International Finance, joining the likes of Circle, Coinbase, BlackRock, and so many other leading institutional players to collaboratively foster global financial stability and sustainable economic growth. Now, with that in mind, let's go over to the IIF. So we've read this many times over in the past. However, let's bring it back up for those that maybe missed this announcement. So we have here that the Institute of International Finance is the global association of the financial industry with over 400 members from more than 60 countries. The IIF provides its members with innovative research, unparalleled global advocacy, and access to leading industry events that leverage its influential network. Its mission is to support the financial industry in the prudent management of risk, to develop sound industry practices, and to advocate for regulatory, financial, and economic policies that are in the broad interest of its members and foster global financial stability and sustainable economic growth. IIF members include commercial and investment banks, asset managers, insurance companies, professional services firms, exchanges, sovereign wealth funds, hedge funds, central banks, and even development banks. Now, looking at the list here, we have a substantial list. We could see all of the big players here. Aberdeen's on here, major banks are on here. I mean, there is a massive list of major players, central banks, asset management companies that everyone knows about, like BlackRock, for example. BNY's on here, Citi's on here, JP Morgan's even listed on here. I mean, guys, the list is extremely substantial. So if we're thinking about that, right, why is Hedera the first and basically the only player tied back to the IIF? Well, we're going to go over that here in a second, but here we do have a post from Tokenizer highlighting this. HBAR being the one and only public DLT is no mere coincidence. IIF chairman, Aberdeen chairman, IIF vice chair and treasurer, Standard Bank CEO. Aberdeen and Standard Bank are on the Hedera Council. IIF's one of the most powerful financial bodies and are working with the BIS for Project Agora too. The members within the IIF are all either asset managers, central banks, private banks, consulting and pro service giants, and policymakers. And as we can see, it's pretty serious given that the board members are all executives and chairs of these financial giants. Seeing Hedera in here as the only public DLT here really leaves a lot to wonder on for what's to come. And again, this is highlighting why, a project like Hedera being utilized by these major players like Standard Bank or even Archix or Aberdeen, etc., it leads to major developments like Hedera being one and the only public DLTs tied back to the IIF. But let's dive a little bit deeper on what's going on here, because we did just get a big update from NASDAQ. We have NASDAQ and the Institute of International Finance recently convened global financial leaders to champion a future-proof financial system. Now, we see that they did welcome in and thanked Tim Adams, the president and CEO of the IIF, for supporting our shared commitment to expanding economic opportunity and fostering innovation in global finance. Now, building on top of this, Hedera. Oh, very interesting. Hedera's chief policy officer was invited by the IIF to join their delegation at Nasdaq's Ring the Bell ceremony. Events like this highlight the growing intersection between traditional finance and emerging tech. So let's go back to the Nasdaq's announcement, right? So here we have Nasdaq's announcement, which said that the Nasdaq and the IIF recently convened global financial leaders to champion a future-proof financial system. So they're talking about future-proofing this new financial system, essentially. And Hedera was there. I mean, this is crazy to think about, but again, this is why I keep saying to focus on some of these random connections, even though they might not seem like much, or hey, maybe they don't skyrocket the price in the last 24 hours. These are still so important, especially if you are holding HBAR, because again, I've said it many times over. We are not here for, quick pump and dumps. We are also holding extremely significant technology. We are investing in the future financial system. And Hedera is definitely a key player here. This is why when we go back to 2024, this announcement is so much more important to focus on now than ever before. Hedera is in the big leagues. Hedera is still extremely overlooked. I've talked about it on multiple occasions. I still don't think people realize how bullish Hedera is becoming and how bullish it is. But let's go back real quick to this post from Tokenizer, because he did say something very interesting, which was Project Agora. He brought that up. So here we have Project Agora. This is from May 2024. This is call for participation private sector from the BIS. Now within this, oh, how funny it is, right? Right off the rip, we have Project Coveners, the BIS with the public sector group. This is including major banks, central banks specifically. And then we have the IIF, the Institute of International Finance. And this is with the private sector group being tapped in. And if we're reading this bottom section here, we have the BIS has brought together 7 central banks, which they do outline all of them. And they're also bringing in the IIF to bring in the private sector, because we're going back. This is call for participation with the private sector. These two are converging together to build out this new system, essentially. And we can see some of the other players here, which include, of course, Coinbase, Coface, Clifford Chance, Citi, Circle. These are all of the big players that are listed from the IIF, because again, if we're looking at the IIF, there is so many players here. Just going through some of the other lists here, you have Fidelity on here. You have, again, more major banks. I mean, it's crazy to look at, but this is literally every single major player out there. And then you have Hedera right at the center point. This is for a major reason. And the reason is, in my opinion, it's the technology stack that Hedera has to offer. Now, on top of this, what's very interesting is we look at this project from the BIS, and then we go to the new announcement that we just talked about in a recent video, which was the fact that Hedera is taking part in the Bank of England and the BIS's DLT Innovation Challenge, exploring how central bank money could be transacted on external programmable ledgers. Now, this is obviously a POC with multiple players, which we've highlighted, but the fact that we are starting to see these types of challenges from major players like the Bank of England or even the BIS should give you everything that you need to know about what's happening at this moment. And again, mind you, the Bank of England was also one of the major players that were tied back to Project Agora as well. And I would argue that because the IIF was tied back to this, that the IIF was looking into, DLTs that could fill a major role, because this announcement was made on May 2024. Hedera got added to the IIF in August of 2024. So maybe they saw something that needed to be fixed. Maybe they saw something that, needs to be improved on, and they tapped in with Hedera. It wouldn't shock me or surprise me at all, especially with everything that's been happening around Hedera lately. And then I also want to go into one last post from Tokenizer. And that is, about a year ago, HBAR joined the IIF. In fact, they were and still are the only public DLT here. Other members include the Rothschild & Co., Aberdeen, Standard Bank, Coinbase, Fidelity, BlackRock, JP Morgan, LSEG. Simply put, Hedera's joined by these massive financial giants. Hedera was clearly at it for a reason, I agree, and it seems like some of those ties are now beginning to develop with the recent NASDAQ ceremony. Given Hedera's role in institutional tokenization since joining, it simply makes sense. And yes, this is also very interesting to focus on because we know that tokenization is building in a huge way. We also know that the NASDAQ talking about this future-proof financial system is very interesting at a time where if we just go back recently, and I know that they post quite a bit, however, we know that the next post here from October 20th, this was highlighting the CEO of the Institute of International Finance. We have whether it's the tokenization of securities, the rise of stablecoins, or the rapid advances in generative AI, innovation is reshaping finance. Listen closely to this.
Thank you, Tal. It's wonderful to be here today. The IIF is proud to represent nearly 400 members across more than 60 countries. As the Global Association of the Financial Industry, our mission is simple: to support strong, resilient, and forward-looking financial system. Last week, we concluded our annual membership meetings in Washington, D.C., held alongside the IMF World Bank annual meetings. Since 1984, this gathering has brought together leaders from the public and private sectors to address the most pressing issues in global finance. This year, one theme stood out among uncertainty, and that is innovation. Whether it's the tokenization of securities, the rise of stablecoins, or the rapid advances in generative AI, innovation is reshaping finance. And we at the IIF are helping to navigate that change, working with central banks, regulators, and member institutions like NASDAQ to ensure our financial system is fit for purpose and fit for the future. But today is more than about technology. It's about the values that underpin our financial system: transparency, opportunity, and trust. These are the values of American capitalism, an engine of innovation and resilience that has shaped the modern world and modernity. Our capital markets, deep, dynamic, and transparent, are the bloodstream of the United States economy. We gather here today at NASDAQ, and we're very happy and proud to be here. We celebrate the people and institutions that make this system work. Thank you to our members for your continued engagement. Together, we're building a financial system that is more efficient, more inclusive, and more prepared for the future. Thank you very much.
And again, this is from the IIF at this ceremony where Hedera was also included. And we also know that the NASDAQ is moving in on blockchain tech. How do we know? Well, because they want to tap into 24/5 trading and eventually 24/7 trading. We've heard this from their CEO. So when it comes back to Hedera being a part of the IIF, being a part of these massive organizations where it's, tapped in with massive institutional players as well in the hundreds, it shows us clearly that Hedera is being selected by some of the top dogs. This is also showing us that institutional players will soon adopt Hedera. And it might not be just a full-on announcement. It could simply be through organizations like the IIF that are planning out some big moves with players like the NASDAQ. There is no, coincidence, in my opinion, where Hedera is being invited by the IIF to join this delegation at NASDAQ's Ring the Bell ceremony, where they were literally talking about tokenization, stablecoins, AI, these new technologies, at the same exact time that they are addressing this new financial system. Hedera is 100% a chosen network in this space by the biggest names out there, and nothing will change my mind on that. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because I'm free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.